Okay, if you have not yet watched video 2.6, the previous video, you really need to go back and watch that first. Otherwise, this lesson is going to not make much sense to you. But I'm going to assume you've already watched it, so let's just jump into this. Today, all we're doing is basically the same thing we did last time, but this time we're just doing only absolute value, okay? Remember, absolute value, I'm tired of saying that word so many times. It's so long. Absolute value, absolute value, absolute value. I'm just going to abbreviate. So I'm going to just say AV, right? So we're going to graph AV functions. And the awesome thing about AV functions, absolute value functions, is that the graphs are AV. They literally make AV. So let's start by graphing the parent function here. Y equals the absolute value of x. Well, we started at 0, 0. And if you remember right, that one just made AV a perfect V coming out in that shape right there. Okay, so that's easy. Now, the rules, these rules are the same that we talked about last time. The blue function, we've got a -5 out there by itself. So since it's out away from the x, that's going to be the y. Since it's not with the x, it's the y. And so a -5 going up or down for the y values, the -5 is going to be going down. So let's just move this point down 5. Right there's 5. And draw our graph from there. Right there. No sweat. Okay, now let's do the red function. The red function, this time, we've got another absolute value function. We've got a v. So the -5, though, this time is in with the x. It's inside the absolute value. So if it's with the x, that's going to change the x, which moves left or right. Now, -5 would make sense to move to the left because it's negative. But remember, if it's with the x, wrong answer. It's opposite, okay? If it's with the x, it's opposite, and I know that's confusing, but the -5, instead of going to the left 5, we're going to actually move it to the right 5. So let's move this to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going to be right there. And, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's draw our V from here. Okay. That's what we got for the red one. Okay, now let's look at the next one. Look at the yellow one. This time there's no extra number, right? So we know it's basically going to start in the middle, but what's different is there's a negative sign out in front of the absolute value. Okay, so let's think about this. Let's just imagine, I'm going to put another one up here. Y equals 2x plus 3. How would we graph that? Y equals 2x plus 3. Well, we know. We would start by going up 3, right? And then we put a dot, and then that's our y-intercept. And then from there, we would go up 2 and over 1. Okay? Up 2 over 1 because that was a positive 2. So we'd go up 2 over 1. What happens if that would have been changed and would have been a negative 2? Well, same thing. We'd go up 3 just like before. But this time, instead of going up 2 over 1, we would go down 2 over 1. So that negative sign out front changes it from going up to going down. Same thing with this graph. The absolute value of x, well, that's just a v going up from 0, 0. Since it's negative, instead of going up, it's just going to go down from 0, 0. And that's what it looks like. Okay, so when we've got the negative out in front of the x, it's just like changing the slope. Instead of going up, it's going to go down. So we're just going to flip it over. Okay, so now let's do this. We're going to work backwards this time. And I want to know what is we've got a graph. I want to know what's the function of this. So, well, here's what I see. It's got a v in it, right? So I know it's going to be an absolute value function. Somehow it's going to be the absolute value of x. What else do we know? We know that this point right here, that started down at 0, 0. So it looks like our point was moved up 3. How do we do that? We put a plus 3 out here by itself. Okay, now this part is different. I haven't touched on this yet at all. We know that just the absolute value of x plus 3 looks like that. Going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, right? And like that 1 is kind of like the slope that's out front, because if you look at this, we're going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. That slope's 1. Except now, if we look at this, I'm going to make my pen just a little bit bigger. We're not going up 1 over 1 on this graph. Instead, it looks like we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. We went up 4 and over 1. So before, when our slope was 1, we just had a 1 out there or didn't write anything. Now, since we go up 4 over 1, we've got to put our slope out here, and that's just going to be 4. So let me just clean this up a little bit because we kind of stumbled our way through this. But this is just y equals 4 times the absolute value of x plus 3. Let's see if we can do it again. Next one. Okay, I see a v, so I know it's going to be y equals the absolute value of x somehow. Okay, that's what's going to be there. Here's our main point, and it started here. Okay, it started at the origin. So what do we see first? First thing I see is that it moved down 1. So if it moved down 1, we know that's changing this y value out here and going down 1. Okay, so now we moved that red dot down there. Now I also see it moved to the right 1. Left and right is changing the x. But remember, x is backwards. So even though it goes to the right 1, and we would think going to the right would mean plus 1, remember, x is opposite, and this is going to be x minus 1. So now, this first minus 1, I move down 1. This x minus 1, I move right 1. And now I'm at the point. And this one still has the slope of 1. So still 1 out front. We don't need the 1 out front. So looks like this is it. Y equals the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 1. Yes, we got another one. Oh, and this one looks fun. Okay, once again, I see a v, so I know it's going to be y equals the absolute value of x in some form or fashion, right? And we started at the origin, and we have to get over here. How are we going to do that? Well, it looks like we just moved straight left 2 spots, right? We didn't go up or down, so I don't need a number by itself at the end. We went to the left 2. How do I go to the left 2? Remember, x is opposite, so it would make sense that that's going minus 2, but x is opposite, so this is going to be plus 2. Okay, that's going to move us 2 to the left. Now, our parent graph is normally up 1 over 1. And this one looks like it has squashed down a little bit. So let's see what it is. What did we actually do? It looks like we went up 2 and over 3. So 2/3 is our slope. So we just put that out in front kind of our x value, which is inside the absolute value. 2/3 is our slope. That is actually the equation for this graph that was drawn for us. Y equals 2/3 times x plus 2. I hope we've got another one. Oh, you know what? We don't have another one. I'm so disappointed because these I think are fun. All right, so I know we went fast. If you need to see it again, don't be scared to go back and watch it again. All right, I know you've got this. Good luck.